I never thought a single missed rent payment would turn my life upside down, but that was before I learned how quickly desperation can bring out the darkest sides of people. My name is Emily Carter, and up until a few months ago, I lived in a small one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of Denver. It wasn't fancy by any means, peeling paint on the walls, thin carpet, and a landlord who didn't bother much with maintenance, but it was mine. It was the only space I could call my own after years of bouncing between roommates and couches. I worked as a receptionist at a dental office, nothing glamorous, but steady enough to keep my rent paid on time. That is, until the office downsized and let go of half the staff, myself included. The panic that followed was unlike anything I'd felt before. I spent days sending out resumes, applying online, making phone calls, and still nothing seemed to stick. The savings I had, just a couple of $100s, dried up fast on groceries and electricity. When the first of the month rolled around, I knew I couldn't cover the rent. My landlord, Mr. Harris, wasn't the kind of man you wanted to owe money to. He was in his late 50s, heavy-set, and always wore the same baseball cap, no matter the season. He had a way of staring at people too long, as if he were sizing them up. I had heard stories from other tenants, late fees, threats of eviction, even rumors that he intimidated people until they left so he could raise the rent for the next desperate tenant. Still, when I explained my situation to him, I hoped he might have a shred of compassion. "I just need a little more time," I told him one afternoon when he knocked on my door. My voice shook as I spoke, not because I was scared of him yet, but because admitting that I couldn't pay felt like admitting I had failed. Mr. Harris leaned against the doorframe, his eyes sweeping over the inside of my apartment before settling back on me. "Rent's due on the 1st, Emily. That's how it works. You don't pay, I start the process." I know. I'm looking for work every day. I should have something soon. If you could just give me 2 weeks." He cut me off with a short laugh. 2 weeks isn't going to keep the lights on for me. I've got bills too, you know. He scratched at his chin, studying me. "Still, maybe we can work something out. I'll stop by later, we'll talk." Those words settled into my stomach like a stone. The way he said them wasn't reassuring. It wasn't the voice of a landlord willing to negotiate. It was the tone of someone who already had a plan, and I was just a piece of it. That night, I barely slept, pacing my tiny apartment, listening to the sound of footsteps in the hallway, convinced every creak was him coming back. My phone was filled with unanswered job applications, and my fridge held little more than milk and half a loaf of bread. By the time morning came, my nerves were raw. The knock came around noon, sharp and deliberate. When I opened the door, Mr. Harris wasn't alone. 2 men stood with him, strangers, both taller than him and dressed in work boots and flannel shirts. They looked like they belonged on a construction site, but their eyes were cold, and their smiles didn't reach their faces. "Emily," Mr. Harris said, his tone almost cheerful now. "These are my friends, Tom and Rick. We thought we'd come by, to help you figure things out." I stepped back instinctively, gripping the edge of the door. "I told you, I just need more time. I'll get the money." "Time's up," he replied simply, then gestured to the men. They didn't move inside, not yet, but the message was clear. They weren't here to make small talk. Fear shot through me, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Please, just give me until the end of the week. I'll find a way." Mr. Harris tilted his head, pretending to think it over, then smirked. "Maybe. But you're not exactly in a position to bargain, are you?" The 2 men exchanged glances. Tom cracked his knuckles, while Rick shifted his weight, his eyes darting around my apartment like he was already cataloging what could be taken. I realized then that this wasn't just about money anymore. Harris wanted control. Bringing his friends wasn't about negotiation. It was about intimidation. I swallowed hard. "If you're threatening me, I'll call the police." That made him laugh again, louder this time. "The police? And tell them what? That your landlord came by to ask for his rent? Good luck with that, sweetheart." I shut the door before they could say more, my hands trembling as I locked it. For the next hour, they lingered in the hallway, their voices low, their footsteps shuffling back and forth. Every time I thought they had left, a sudden thud or laugh would remind me they were still there. I knew I couldn't stay trapped forever. My mind raced with options: pack up and run, hide out with my friend Jessica across town, or call my older brother Mark and beg for help. But pride, that stubborn voice in my head, told me I had to handle this on my own. That pride nearly destroyed me. When night fell, the hallway went quiet, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they were waiting. I pushed a chair against the door and tried to sleep, but every creak of the old building kept me wide awake. Around 2 a.m., I heard it, a faint scraping sound near the lock. My heart pounded as I sat up in bed, straining to listen. Then came the soft click of metal against metal. They were trying to get in.